right. I think we might be live. Yeah.
Woohoo!
Hold on one second here. It says starts in 3 minutes.
It says starts in 3 minutes. I have live over here, no?
It says live. Yeah, there we are. That's us. We're officially live.
Hey, this is Rose with a PR in front of it, meaning prose. And I bet you all think that we've been drinking a long time, and we're going to go with that. I'm Vicki Locke with C2 Communications, and this is the CEO,
Cindy Woolley with C2 Communications. So thank you for coming today. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Cheers. I hope everyone can join us for happy hour. This is going to be a fun ride with prose, right?
Beautiful glass. What is that?
Thank you. Thank you. So this piece, my mom brought back from Ireland, and it's a piece of Waterford. So I just loved it, and I thought, what a way to kick off the day, or kick off the evening with a jade martini in a pretty glass.
A jade martini?
A jade martini. It's got vanilla vodka, Midori, pineapple juice, and lime juice. It's a little sweet and a little sour.
Well, apparently you didn't get the memo because I'm drinking rosé. It's Whispering Angel. A friend of mine turned me onto it because she had allergies and it was the only wine she could drink. And speaking of allergies, I'm surprised you can drink that because you're allergic to everything.
I know, sometimes the air gets me sometimes because the allergies just all over the place. No, but living with allergies is quite challenging. And several years ago, wine was actually on my list of allergies, but fortunately I was able to check that one off. So sweet Jesus, it could come back.
So why don't we explain why we came up with this or how we came up with this and how it's going to work?
I think that's a fantastic idea. And, so over the past year, there's been so many Zoom meetings and Vicki joined C2 Communications 6-7 months ago, and working remotely and over these Zoom conversations, we just had such such in-depth conversations about public relations and pop culture and books and just fascinating people. So we felt it was time to take our show on the road per se and launch Prose, where we can engage you in the story, engage you in what's happening, and bring fantastically interesting people to share in the conversation. So I'm so excited about this. And, I know you've been doing podcasting and radio forever. So this is a new venture for me, but you're just right at home on the video cast.
It's books and booze, and I'm happy because I don't know about you, but I read more during the pandemic than I have ever read in my life. I'm just reading Hail Mary Project, which I really like because it's about an accidental astronaut who is trying to save the Earth from imploding. And it's really believable, and I just love it. And what are you reading right now?
Well, I just finished a book, and it was one of the recommendations that I got from Friends in Fiction on Facebook. I just popped up in my feed a book called Anxious People, and I thought coming off of the year we had, I wasn't sure about picking it up, but the reviews were fantastic, and I got to say they were spot on. It was so smart and witty. And so when I downloaded it and read it, it was just such an interesting read. I got through it in 2 days and loved every minute of it. What's next on your book list?
Well, I just downloaded The Newcomer, and I know you don't download. You either do audiobooks, right? Or you buy the book.
I love audiobooks. I have gotten to really enjoy listening to books because it gives my eyes a break at the end of the day, you know? And so plus I just love the characters and the way they tell the story and bring it to life. So yeah, I'm a big Audible reader.
Well, I did that if I traveled, but I haven't done that for a while. So I guess my Kindle was just, and I remember Sex and the City with Carrie. I always thought everything she said about books was so true to me, that I like the smell of books. And it was like, if you got a book, it was a gift. But I think it was the Harry Potter series that got me realizing that if you're traveling on a plane, that is pretty heavy, and downloading on a Kindle was the way to go. And I've been a Kindle girl ever since. But let's get to our very special first guest of PRose, who we are so excited that she could find time to be with us today, even though I told her it was a podcast and she didn't realize there would be video. I'm so sorry. She's the New York Times bestseller. She's got over 20 novels. She's got a podcast, the Friends and Fiction podcast. And her new book came out last month, The Newcomer. So let's welcome the queen of beach reads, rather, Mary Kay Andrews.
Hi, ladies.
Hi. Thanks.
So what are you drinking, girl?
I am enjoying a nice chilled glass of my new Chardonnay. It's Story Point, and it's got a great price point, and more importantly, they are going to be our new partners on Friends and Fiction. So
nice.
Yeah.
Is it oaky? Is it buttery? I like a nice buttery Chardonnay.
Yeah, it's buttery oaky. I am not what you would call a connoisseur. I just like cold Chardonnay. I like rosé, and I love Whispering Angel, Vicki. I heard you say that you were enjoying some Whispering Angel.
Yes.
That's about one of my favorite rosés.
It is, especially when it's nice and chill. Do you drink when you're writing? Not
when I'm writing.
No?
I'll take a break. Like, I will run away from home to write. Not this past year, of course, but I'll run away from home to write, and that's the only time really that I write morning into the evening. So when I do that at my dinner break, I'll say, "Oh, you wrote so many words, you can have a glass of wine." And if you write so many more words after that, you can have another glass of wine, because I make the rules.
You make the rules and the rewards. I like it.
Them's the rules.
Mm-hmm. And so many of your books, they're perfect beach read books, obviously. And do you write in Tybee? Do you have to be in a beach setting, or can you write anywhere?
I can write anywhere. I mean, I wrote most of The Newcomer in bed.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, my book tour was canceled for last year's novel, Hello Summer. Like most writers, our book tours were canceled, and I didn't go on book tour. So I stayed home, and, I was writing. Life was in a vacuum. There was no purpose. There was no rhyme or reason. So I had to force myself to get into a regimen. And that ended up being 7 a.m. writing sprints with my friends, Mary Alice Monroe, Patty Callahan, Christy Woodson Harvey, and Kristen Harmel. They're the co-founders of Friends and Fiction, this Facebook Live Wednesday night webcast we do about books. And so every morning at 7, I would text everybody and say, "Who's up? Who's writing? I'm going to write 1,000 words, 2,000 words, and let's go." And so I would write for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And so really, I would say 2/3 of the book was written in bed starting at 7 a.m.
Wow. Did you shower in between?
No. Yes, I showered. Yes, I did eventually get out. I mean, there were days I didn't get out of my pajamas until noon or 1 o'clock, but yeah, eventually I showered.
I think a lot of people this year can say that. I didn't get out of my jammies until 1 o'clock today. So,
or I stayed in them.
I'm still doing that. Something wrong with me? So tell us a little bit about the book. It's a mystery. I haven't, like I mentioned, I just downloaded it, but I'm pretty excited because I just love summertime, getting a glass of, could be Chardonnay, could be rosé, and just reading on the beach?
Yeah, so it starts out with Letty Carnahan, the protagonist, and she's a woman on the run. She has just discovered her sister Tanya's body on the floor of her sister's very pricey Upper West Side townhouse. Her sister's been killed, and her little 4-year-old daughter, Maya, is standing at the top of the staircase, screaming and crying. And so Letty remembers the thing her sister said to her. Her sister was going through a really bitter, contentious custody battle with her ex. And her ex, awkwardly, also happens to be Letty's ex. And so Tanya had told her many times, if anything bad happens to me, it's Evan. If anything bad happens, it's him. Promise me, if something happens to me, you'll take Maya and run. And so Letty, her sister, is a drama queen and prone to not only exaggeration, but, lying. And so Letty's always thought, well, she's exaggerating. But when she finds her sister's body, the first thing she does is grab this child and the go bag her sister has shown her. The go bag has a wad of cash and a big honkin' diamond ring. And then she finds an old Southern Living magazine story about this mom and pop motel in Florida, the Murmuring Surf. So Letty doesn't know what else to do. She gets in the car, and she starts driving. She drives to this little beach town, Treasure Island, Florida, which is a real town on the Gulf Coast of Florida, right outside my hometown of St. Pete. And she ends up at the Murmuring Surf, and she doesn't really know why she's there. Her sister has no connection that she knows of to this place. And the motel having a bit of a struggle, but it's winter and the regulars are there, and the regulars are this eclectic cast of retirees and snowbirds. They come down every winter for the season, and they all are, older, very territorial. And each year they come down, they want their same unit, or they want a better unit, one facing the Gulf than they had the previous year. They want their same lounge chair at the pool. They want their sign-up times for the shuffleboard court. And so when Letty is the newcomer, and she is very much an outsider, and she's got this little 4-year-old child, so they are very suspicious of her and hostile towards her. But pretty soon, Letty finds a way to sort of embed herself at the Murmuring Surf, and all the while she's trying to figure out what happened to her sister. She has a pretty good idea what happened to her, but she's not really sure she understands why and how. And of course, she understands that she will be the chief suspect in her sister's murder because she's basically abducted her niece and fled. And so that's the story. There's some romance.
Nice comedy. Kidding.
Well, there's a hot cop. There's a hot cop on the premises. His mom owns the place and manages it. And Joe, the hot cop, is very suspicious of Letty, and he knows right away that something's up. But he plays his cards pretty close to the vest.
Did you talk to any police officers or?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. I'm a washed up recovering journalist. I was a reporter for 14 years, the last 10 at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And I started my career writing mysteries. So yeah, I always do research. There's a cop I'm friends with. He's the retired former head of the Atlanta PD's homicide squad. And so, I talked to him for research for the book, and I talked to a couple of retired FBI agents and, lawyers.
Lots of lawyers.
Just two. I talked to one of my best friends is a retired assistant U.S. attorney. So I talked to her for research. She's always helpful. And then I talked to an Atlanta lawyer who does estates and trusts. And that's an important part of the story.
I like that you always have powerful, strong women. And that's kind of what you're known for, right?
Yeah. At the beginning of the book, Letty doesn't think she's any of those things. I mean, she's terrified. She thinks that she's running away. Well, she knows she's running away. She doesn't think she has a lot of options. But like so many of us, she doesn't understand her own strengths. What's that saying? A woman is like a tea bag. You never know her strength till you put her in hot water.
Yeah.
That's sort of what happens with Letty.
So are you taking a break, or is it now free for you to go on book tours again and be normal and meet all your fans?
Well, define normal.
I did never happen again.
Yeah, right. We got a new normal now. I did go on book tour. I did a 2-week tour. I did some bookstores around Savannah and Beaufort, South Carolina, and St. Simons. Then I went down to Florida where the book is set. So I toured around there for a week, and I just got home week before last. And no, I'm not taking any time off. I'm working on next summer's book. And in the meantime, I've got a Christmas book coming out at the end of September.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Are you writing that in bed?
Yeah.
So if you keep writing, then when do you have time to drink? Because you said earlier that you don't drink when you write.
When I do podcasts.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Cheers. Cheers to that.
Cheers, exactly.
No, yeah, I have a normal life like anybody else. Normally, unless I go away to write or I'm in the middle of a scene that I am captivated by, usually I stop working about 5. My husband and I have dinner together and we do all the things other people do. We fight, discuss what we're not going to watch on television.
He says, "Can I finally get into bed? And can you stop writing?"
He's glued to the Braves game downstairs.
Okay. Now, Cindy is an author as well, but she's I brought her over to the dark side.
Oh, good. Thank you for dragging her over to the dark side.
Yeah, absolutely. Before meeting Vicki, most of my books were business related and business books, and so it's nice to get lost in a little more fiction and get lost in a different world. So I'm rather enjoying the trip on the dark side.
Well, welcome to our world. It's you're allowed to have fun, by the way.
Right. I have to keep reminding myself of that. Definitely a nose to the grindstone kind of person, but Vicki keeps me lighthearted.
We need that. Everybody needs the fun girlfriend.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I have a question though. What inspires your creativity? That seems to be a hot discussion item on some of our e-newsletters that go out, is just where do you find creativity and get the inspiration for the different books and characters?
The shower.
That's the truth. All right. Me too. That's where my best ideas come.
Really? Never.
The shower, it's like a isolation capsule. There's no outside interference. There's the sound of the water. And I get most of my best ideas. I got a book title when I was in the shower yesterday. I'll have breakthroughs in my scenes, something I'll be stuck on, and I'll be in the shower and I'll say, but the rest of the time it's where I'll be in a restaurant and I'll eavesdrop on the table next to me. I got a whole book out of a conversation I eavesdropped on in a restaurant when I was in Charleston. I was on book tour and I heard the woman at the table next to me. She looked very, she was older, and she had 2 very, very well, good-looking younger companion men, and she was telling them about how her ex-husband had swindled her in the divorce settlement, that he'd hidden assets and done all this kind of stuff, and it just started my mind racing, and I went away with a book idea, and that book became Savannah Breeze.
Mm-hmm. Did they get any royalties?
Oh, hell no. The idea for this summer's book, The Newcomer, my editor called up and said, "I want you to write a book. I know you love those old mom and pop motels in Florida where you grew up. Why don't you set a book there? Have a fish out of water story, as we call it, and call it The Newcomer." And so I started thinking, well, all right, She's a fish out of water. She's a newcomer at one of these motels. Well, obviously, everybody else is a regular. They're snowbirds, they're retirees. Why is she there? She's there because she's running for her life. And she's also trying to keep her little 4-year-old niece, Maya, safe. And then, you know, the inspiration comes from everywhere and anywhere. I was down in Florida doing research on Treasure Island for the newcomer. And whenever I'm in Florida and I need a potty break, I always go to Publix because there's a Publix on every corner down there.
So true.
And they have clean bathrooms. It's like being in Starbucks in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
You're wandering around New York and you got to find a clean bathroom.
Look for the Starbucks for sure.
Find a Starbucks. Yeah. I don't even drink coffee, but I'll go in a Starbucks. And so I was in a Publix and I was walking through the produce department and I thought of a scene. There's a scary guy in the newcomer, Letty, and has Maya at Publix. Maya's in the cart. And this guy who's also in the produce department, he's pretending to look at stuff, but he's not really looking at produce. He's got a 6-pack of beer and some, I don't know, lunch meat or something in his cart. And he starts talking to Maya and says, "What a cute little girl. What's your name?" And once I started thinking about that, I thought about all the possibilities. So
do you have pen and paper with you constantly, or
I think
maybe you're having a really intimate moment with your husband, and then you go, "Wait a minute, hold that, because I've got this idea for a book."
That does not happen. One time he's basically retired and he does consulting work now. But one time I did call him at work and I said, he called me, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I just finished writing this really hot sex scene." And he said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, it involves a cake batter." And he said, "Oh, what were you thinking for dinner?" Did not want me to tell him about the hot sex scene that I just involving cake batter.
Yeah, definitely.
That is funny. I love that. Now, I want to ask, did you see Romancing the Stone? Because I've always wondered, one of my favorite scenes is when she's finishing the book and she's typing, I think, and she's reaching the climax, so to speak, and the tears are flowing. Do you get that way when you finally finish one of your books?
I get yes. It's this huge tidal wave of relief because it's always an ordeal at the end. The end is the hardest, and usually I'm past deadline and I'm desperate and I'm panic stricken. And so usually what I do when I finish a book, and it's so funny, Vicki, that you brought up Romancing the Stone, because the scene I always think of is right after that when she types the end. She toasts herself with champagne. And then she gives her cat, I don't know, like pate or something. So the first book I finished, which was Every Crooked Nanny, I decided I would have a ritual of when I finish a book. And so my favorite guilty junk food items are Wink grapefruit soda, which you can't really find in Atlanta anymore, and Reese cups. So my family knows that when I'm tearing my hair out, but I stop and go buy Reese cups and some kind of grapefruit soda. They know the end is near. And I still do it to this day.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you can't find it, you can't finish the book?
No, I finished the book. I can buy it in North Carolina. So if I go to North Carolina, like to the Raleigh area, you can find it in Harris Teeter usually. Just, tip for those Winks soda aficionados.
Now,
they make it. It's just distributed.
Cat person, do you do anything with your cat like that?
I don't like cats.
You what?
I have a cat.
No, Cindy does.
Oh, Cindy, I'm sorry, Cindy.
I'm wondering if she does something like that with her cat.
I just have to feed them. Otherwise, they interrupt my Zoom meetings and prance in front of the computer. So, no, they're not a part of the finish, but they definitely sit on my lap and little support kitties while I'm writing and while I'm stressed that way. So they're there along the process for sure.
I have wine for that.
I get my best glass for after the book is done. So
that is a beautiful. Is it like a cut glass?
Yes, isn't it?
Coupe?
It's Waterford, and it's from Ireland.
Oh yeah, you can't hardly find water from Ireland anymore.
Yeah, my mom.
And on Amazon.
Ah,
you can find everything on Amazon.
Really, you really can.
Who knows?
Speaking of that, can you get your book on Amazon?
You can. You can get it at Amazon. I am a big champion of independent bookstores, and for one reason, because so many of them are owned by women. And Atlanta, we have so many great indie bookstores. We have Foxtail out in Woodstock. We've got the Book Exchange in Marietta. We've got Little Shop of Stories on the Decatur Square. We've got Eagle Eye Books in Decatur. In fact, I'm doing a signing. My first Atlanta signing is going to be Friday night on the Decatur Square from 5 to 7 at Little Shop of Stories.
What is the strangest thing that a fan has ever said or asked or done?
Well, lots that we can't discuss here.
Really? Ooh.
So, yeah, people do and say the strangest. People feel, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like a bartender. People will tell you the most intimate details of their lives. I had a woman tell me one time that she'd been widowed, and in fact, she was a bookstore owner. She and her husband ran this bookstore, and he died a few years previously, and I hadn't seen her. And then I saw her 2 or 3 years later, and I said, "Well, how are you?" She said, "After Joe died, I really thought I just wanted to curl up and die myself. There was no reason for me to live. I wouldn't leave the house. I hardly ate. I came to the bookstore, but life had no meaning." But she said, then I went to my high school reunion, and she said, I reconnected with an old friend from high school, and we started dating. And she said, and now we live together. And she leaned in and she said, and the sex is fabulous.
Who said that? Hold that thought, because I got to get a pen and paper from my next book.
I was going to say, did you was she inspired by cake batter?
I don't know. And then I'll tell you the nastiest thing ever. I was at one of these showcases for women, where they have all, like, they sell screen porches and kitchen cabinets and I don't know, quick weight loss solutions. And I was at this table with other authors, and each of us had our books out in front of us, and this kind of overweight guy comes and he stops in front of my table and my little display of books, and he looks at me. He picks up the book jack and he looks at my author photo, and he looks at me and he goes, your author photo, you don't look as good as you do in the author photo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How rude.
Is he still alive?
I said, sir, that's the exact wrong thing to say to any woman. You can move along.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, but you know what I've learned in my days on the radio? This is terrible. One of the Baldwin brothers was in town, I think, for an art show of some kind. And he had donated his time. It was for a charity. And somebody actually came up to him and said something similar, like, oh, it must not have been Alec. Alec is so much better looking than you.
Yeah.
And I was mortified. And later he told me that sometimes people, when they're so enamored with someone like yourself or these celebrities, they don't think of them as being human beings, or they just say stupid things without a filter. And not to say that guy wasn't a complete ass, but I think sometimes that just happens to people like you.
Yeah.
You're a celebrity.
I think on the internet, especially with, online reviews, it gives people this permission.
Right.
To either be their best self or bring out who they really are. And who they really are, lots of times, is kind of unfortunate, because some of them are not very kind, and some of them are not very smart either, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
One of the biggest lessons I've always taught my daughter is it takes a stronger woman to lift someone up than to tear them down. And I just feel like we need more of that in life in general, just lift each other up instead of tearing people down.
Yeah, just take the moment to be kind. What does kindness cost?
Absolutely. So go online and talk about Mary Kay Andrews' book and be kind. Because
talk about any author's books and be kind. I would never, I read a lot of books, and as an author, imagine posting some of the reviews that I've seen. For one thing, since I'm in the business, I would never post an incredibly critical, hateful review because I've been on the receiving end of that kind of ugliness. But even if I didn't, my mother used to say, if you don't have something nice to say, shut your mouth. So, the world will keep on spinning without my opinion of a book or a movie or a restaurant. I do appreciate informed reviews. And of course, who doesn't love a positive review? But not, the world will keep spinning without my input. But that said, if I love a book, I shout it out. I go
What's
on.
the last book that made you shout it?
I will tell you, it's such a cute book. It's called The Invisible Husband of Frick Island, Frick. It's an Atlanta author, Colleen Oakley, Oakley. It's adorable. It's funny and it's full of hope. It's set on a fictional island off the coast of North Carolina, off the coast of Maryland, and it's based on Smith Island, which is basically disappearing under sea level. Rising sea levels are threatening this island's existence. And so this little island, there are 95 people living on it. And this guy is working, he's just out of journalism school. He's young and so green. He gets an assignment to do a story on this Frick Island. And he takes the ferry over and he stumbles across what he thinks is a really great story. And he's doing a podcast on the side because he thinks being a podcaster could be the key to his career. Because he doesn't think he's going to go anywhere with newspapers. So it's just a great book. I really enjoyed it. It was just out last week. It's in trade paperback, and I've been recommending it to everybody who will listen.
Good for you.
That's nice.
That's awesome.
It doesn't cost anything to be nice.
That's right. But this wine did cost me a few pennies. We are so glad that you had time to be with us. I am so sorry I didn't tell you that you were going to see your smiling, beautiful face. We look forward to your Christmas book.
Thank you. The Santa suit.
Yeah, Santa suit.
The Santa suit, September 28th.
Is it going to be funny? Is it going to be another mystery? Is it going to be?
There's a little bit of a mystery, although no body.
Okay, thank goodness.
Yeah, no, it's a heartwarming small town Christmas story.
Oh, that's great.
Well, and we'll catch your podcast too.
Yes, Friends in Fiction, Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Facebook Live. Yeah.
Well, cheers to you.
Thanks, and cheers to Prose.
Cheers to. Thank you.
My pleasure.